And welcome to another episode of All Rell Good on the Crawford Podcasting Network with my buddy, my friend, former Wolverine, two-time Big Ten champion Richard Rellford out of Riviera Beach, Suncoast High School. Terrific athlete down there. We've been having so much fun on this podcast, Rich, and we got
Yes, we
another
have.
special guest. All our guests are special. You know, the captain of this team, this Michigan team that we've all fallen in love with in the last week, let's just say, is number 55, Eli Brooks. Okay. There's another former number 55 who was a captain of the 1989 National Champions, and he was a freshman on your squad, 86 squad. He's Mark Hughes, who is in Indianapolis. And Mark, it was so great seeing you and see Webb and Ray Jackson, a bunch of other Wolverines. What a 2-day that was down in Indy.
Oh, it was. It was fantastic. You know, whenever I get an opportunity to go out and see the guys, I make that happen. And, they just, Juwan did such a fantastic job with those guys, getting them to play and play hard. And we took an 11 seed to the Sweet 16. And I think they got more and more wins coming.
You know, Mark, Chris Webber said after the game, he was nervous, nervous like a fan. I mean, were you nervous down the stretch in both the Colorado State game and the Tennessee game as a fan and a former player?
Tom, I'm always nervous when I'm like,
Yes, we are. That's right.
You guys get nervous. I didn't think you guys got. I thought it's just us geeky fans that got nervous.
Oh,
Nope.
no. Yes, sir. You get nervous, man, because you're pulling so hard for them. And obviously you're not playing, you're not coaching. So, your impact is just you can cheer. That's it.
That's true. Okay, Rich, I want to go back to 1986. You're the stud. You're the high wire act, number 40 with all the dunks. And in comes this freshman from Muskegon Reese Puffer High School. And, a veteran team. He comes in there. Can you talk about your first impression of Mark Hughes? Not to embarrass the hell out of him here, but go ahead.
Well, I tell everybody the same thing about Mark, Glenn, and Lloyd.
Okay.
When those guys came in, when I tell you the respect that they gave all of us, the seniors that was on that team, that's why we fell in love with those guys. Because you know what? The one thing that they always did was worked hard. Nobody bitched about playing time, any of that. Because those guys were okay, but they knew their time was coming. And I'm going to tell you, we were as good as we were because those young guys played every day hard at practice, and it wasn't easy. Trust me.
Yeah. So, Mark, what was it like with Rellford and Tarpley and Antoine Jobert, Gary Grant as a young freshman? Talk about nervous. You had to be nervous as a freshman that first day of practice, right?
obviously, you begin recruited by him. You watch him. You root for these guys, and then finally you make the decision. Boom, coming to Michigan. It's like, all right, great. I get a chance to play with this fantastic group, and they're just coming off a Big Ten championship. Like, oh man, it's like okay. Now, Rich said it. It's different back then than it is today. Today, guys come in, they think, oh, I'm going to take over. I'm a McDonald's All-American. I'm coming in. No. We had guys in front of us, and we knew. We just looked at them physically. It was like, man, look at all those muscles on those guys.
Yeah. I would think
stronger, bigger, faster. I'm like, yeah, it's going to take me some time. So by the time I'm a senior, I'm going to look like those guys. So, it was awesome. And they, like I said, they treated us great. They, was awesome as leaders and just was a great example for us. And they started that path for us to be able to do what we did in our time there in Michigan.
Yeah. Rich, so when you saw Mark as a freshman, where did you think he'd end up being a captain of a national champion Michigan Wolverines? I mean, where did you see his future?
I didn't know he would be a captain, but I'm going to tell you, we knew that he would be a serious contributor to those winning the national title because I told you, when we left, we would always come back and check on these guys. And like Mark said, we tried to leave a foundation that these guys could come in and just play. And they were lucky too because they had Coach Frieder and Coach Fisher, both of those guys. So when Frieder left, they still had Fish. And so we were really confident in those guys. And listen, man, I was excited every time I watched them.
Mark, I thought a key for you was your sophomore year, a team that struggled to get into the NCAA tournament, very similar to this. You're kind of dicey there down the stretch. Then you blew out Purdue, if I'm not mistaken, on your last regular season game. You got into the tournament. You beat, I think you beat Navy with David Robinson. But your experience that year in Loy Vaught got a lot of PT. That set up 88 and 89 for you, did it not?
Yeah, no, it sure did. It sure did. It's funny because coming off our freshman year, where we were probably one of the biggest teams in the country, right? With how many guys we had, between Rich and Butch and Roy and Rob Henderson, like they were big, right? So then come back to sophomore year, and we were small. Like Coach Frieda was smart enough to go, hey, let's go with the 3 guards, right? Yeah. We had Antoine, we had Gary, we had Guard Thompson, and they just spread the floor and shot the basketball. And Glenn and I were the forwards, and we just kind of rebounded, kicked it out. And Glenn was kind of coming into his own there because he always was a very, very good shooter. So we just did that. And, I was inside along with Lloyd Vault and just being physical with the guys. But it was a totally different team. But when you play minutes when you're young, then that does. It helps you grow and develop, helps you keep your confidence. And then when it's your time, junior, senior year, that's when you reap all those benefits.
Rich, after you left, Michigan didn't win a national champion, or did not win a Big Ten championship for Mark's rest of his tenure, but they won a national championship. I mean, what was your feeling when they won it at 89? Did you feel still part of that because you had Mark and some other guys on
That's exactly right.
What was that feeling like?
I felt like we won the national title too because Markman was our crew. Yeah. And so everywhere we were playing, we all called each other and we was like, yo, y'all watching the game? Y'all watching the game? Yeah. And it made us proud because, like I said, we knew Mark, Lloyd, and Glenn. We knew those guys. And we knew Guard and we knew Antoine. So, we knew those guys was going to come out and play every night. So the people who missed it was Antoine and Gary and Guard, and they missed the national championship.
All the great things that you did, Mark. When I think about you on the floor in 1989 on that Ramil Robinson's last trip down the court when he got picked up a foul and he dished the ball to you. If he would not have gotten called for that foul, you would have been taking the game-winning shot in the national championship game. Do you ever think about that at all? Does it jar the hell out of you?
Only when people bring it up. But I tell you, I was shooting over 60% from the field.
That's
it was
right.
a 10-footer. And I tell you what, it would have been me on the cover of Sports Illustrated instead of you.
There you go, Mark. That's right, baby.
Man, that was it.
But did you know that? I mean, I'm sure you heard this story, but I read, in fact, I've seen it a few. Steve Fisher had a dream the night before that Mark Hughes was going to score the winning basket. I mean, that's kind of creepy, kind of scary. I mean, he had that vision, that you were going to hit the game winner, and you would you have banked it, or would he have gone over the rim from that angle? Because you were kind of flanked out a little bit.
I was flanked out, and that was a perfect angle for a bank shot. Boom. Okay. And I work on, with Fish, working on the bigs every day. We worked on that piece. And so, again, like I told you, man, that would have been off the glass, game winner, and that would have been me. And I tell you what, right, Fish did tell that story. He told that to us, and it was kind of, like, wow, really? Like, he really all in for that. And, I even started the overtime, which Lloyd Vault was actually the starter, but I played like almost the whole overtime in that game against Seton Hall. And sure enough, he did pass it to me, and that was going to be the game winner.
Rich, as you know, I was down in Indy doing both fan and media. So I was in the press conference after the game. Jawan was beaming, and as well as the players. And I don't know, the question was posed about the guys coming back, C. Webb and Ray and Jalen on Thursday, and then and Mark Hughes. And Jawan went on and on about Mark, how he recruited that Mark recruited Jawan to come to Michigan. I mean, think about the impact of that. I mean, not just the Fab Five era, but what's going on right now. I mean, does that surprise you that Mark have that kind of impact on incoming recruits?
Not at all, because you should have saw Mark when he was a recruit. That's why he knew exactly what to do. Yeah. We have, they don't usually, when you recruited, they usually give you somebody that We prefer that, when Mark went, it's good because all the guys knew him and he was a big guy. And we believed in big guy, recruit big guy. Small guards, recruit guards. That's what Freedom was doing. And listen, Mark was perfect, man. Jawan knew what he was talking about. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And Tom, I'll just tell you, like, it's so funny, like the thread that just goes from, back, 85, 84, 85 up through where we're at now. Because on my visit, obviously I was hung out with Butch, with Rich, Rob Henderson, with Roy, with those guys. And they told me what it would be like to be in Michigan. So fast forward, Coach Fisher says, hey, Mark, Juwan, he's a very important recruit to us. Like, that's good. So I'm going back to Ann Arbor, Juwan comes to Michigan basketball camp. So I'm there just in his ear, telling him what that's like. He's on his official visit. I was in town. Boom. I go there. I just spent time with him and told him what it was like. Because, you meet a guy, as Rich, you see him, you're like, he would be perfect. He's a Michigan man. And there's something about Juwan that, for me, he's mature beyond his years. Know he worked hard. Like, he'd be perfect here in Ann Arbor. And just we're so fortunate that he made that decision and, brought the rest of those guys with him.
Mark, when I think back to all the former, and Rich, obviously, you know about this too. I mean, when I talk to friends of yours from different eras that weren't there, they know Rich. There's a family atmosphere going on here. I'm feeling it much more than it was 20 years ago when it was kind of dismembered a little bit. Players, Rich, from all different eras. There is a fraternity factor. And I think that's just going to only propel more with Juwan, steering the ship, right?
Well, I think all the guys that played at Michigan will always be Michigan men, and who's ever coaching our teams, we're going to support them. And we're like Mark said, I'm really happy that they got Juwan, because Juwan knows from the player's standpoint and how hard we work. That's how hard he worked his team now. And so I believe things are a lot different from when we played. But I like the guys now. I think it's a family, and I think that's what Michigan cultivates. They cultivate family.
Mark, I gotta tip my hat to my podcast partner here, Richard Rellford, because he's been Mr. Positive, like freaking all season long, like at insane, irrational levels. Hey, they're young. Caleb will come around. Come on, you got to give it, blah blah blah. And even though it's win loss. When you're out there in California, assistant general manager of the Clippers, I know you got a lot of stuff to do out there. But when you watch this Michigan team over this year, did you have some frustrating moments like what the hell is going on there? Are this on again, off again?
Well, just for me, again, Michigan man, I'm supporting them 100%. So obviously I watch it and I'm rooting for them and want them to win games and want them to have success. And so, sometimes you get a little, like I'm Rich. I'm positive as well. I'm like, let's do this. So I believe in the group. And I do know Juwan is, if you watch how he coaches, you'll see the second halves that they have nice pushes because of his adjustments, right?
Yep.
And that's the whole way the whole year goes. So early in the season, they may have some bumps and ups and downs, but he's learning his team. And so by the time March comes, boom, he's ready to roll. And just to talk a little bit about the Michigan family, like I got to give Coach Beilein some credit because he started really reaching out to the groups. And Lisa Nicholson, who's been there for some years, she does a fabulous job of being in touch and saying, hey, we want to bring this group back. Rich, bring back your Big Ten championship. Bring back this group. And so once that started, boom, and then you see the thing just grow because we do have such a rich tradition, and we want to make sure that we continue that thing growing. And, having one of our own sitting in that seat, leading the program is awesome. And so I think you'll see more and more groups coming back and being able to support this team, which is fantastic.
Mark, there's two guys that I think Rich probably is the president of the respective fan clubs. One's Frankie Collins. Been hearing about Frankie all season long from Rich. And the other one's Hunter Dickinson. Even though there were some moments, during the season, I'd say, Rich, man, it looks like Hunter's disengaged. What didn't look like he wanted to be out there. There was a couple games like that Carolina game, but you've been with them through and through. And boy, those two dudes delivered this weekend, Rich. I mean, Hunter was unbelievable.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I loved about Hunter, Tom. Remember the big guy from
Tennessee?
That when he made a basket on Hunter, he did the sign, he too little.
Yeah, he taunted him. Yeah, I saw.
And after that, Hunter told him a new one. And Hunter ended up with 27 and 12, and I said to him, thank you, because all you did was motivate him. That's how Markham was, Tom.
Yeah.
If guys talk smack, all of a sudden all our guys got motivated, man, because that's what we did to him every day in practice.
Well, but over to Frankie Collins, though. I mean, Frankie, and I saw him walk out of the tunnel. He's like, I know this is on Thursday, and he's, kind of laughing and really chilling. And it's like, dude, I'm saying to myself, dude, you're starting, man. Aren't you a little bit nervous? He goes out there he's got some swag to that. That kid's got some swag. I don't know if he got it in Vegas or what, but man, he is a competent dude. And I know Devontae, his situation is probably suspect with that. He's had 2, knocks on the head, and I'm not sure what his status is going to be for Nova. But Frankie's growing right before our eyes.
Tom, we said that all year long. What Frankie Collins does is bring in the energy.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he's doing. He's bringing in the energy, and he's taking advantage of his moment. This is his moment. And the way you see, the Jones is going to be gone next year, and Frankie's going to have a chance to run that team.
Oh yeah, that's
so I think he's going to be more than ready to be and prepared for this.
Mark, I want you to talk about that other 55 that's wearing wore your jersey, is wearing it right now as a captain, like you were, as I mentioned early on. Eli Brooks, Eli coming. Eli was absolutely terrific. I got to tell you, when he was doing that runner, the Xavier rolling hook, and he went over the rim instead of glass. I think, what the hell are you doing? Swish. Didn't that surprise the hell out of you, Mark?
How big was that shot?
Huge.
Oh my goodness.
Play the game.
Yes, indeed. Yes, and he hit it. And, you got to love him. Glad that he came back, and the kid just plays hard. He is the heart of this team. And, just enjoy watching him play because he's in control always. And for him, just being able to make plays, like help those young guys come along. I give him a lot of credit, and he's a terrific leader for that group. And, obviously you look at other guys like score more, rebound more, do whatever, but he's one of the glue pieces, as the leader. And it's just fun watching this whole group.
Well, Eli's dad's a coach, Rich. And you're a coach. Mark's been a coach. He's an assistant general manager. You all been involved in mentoring and coaching young people. How much do you think that has an impact with Eli? The old man's a coach. Coaches' kids are typically smooth, focused athletes, aren't they?
Well, just think about it. Xavier Simpson.
Yeah.
His father is a coach.
That's true.
And so those guys come in with an advantage, I think, because I saw that shot by Eli, and the first person I thought it was Simpson. That's the first person I thought about. Yeah. And those coaches' kids, they come in with a whole lot of basketball knowledge, and that's always a plus on any team that you're on.
Yeah. Mark, when I think of what Terrence Williams did, they call him, the putback. He had a little Loy Vaught to him in there. You know what I mean? I always assimilate back to different players. The Loy kind of had that his sophomore year kind of or freshman year kind of emerged, and 88 emerged more. Terrence Williams, I think, has got a lot of upside, don't you?
He does, no doubt about it. And you talk about that like being on the glass, because Lloyd was a glass eater.
Oh, my God. Yes.
He would rebound that basketball. And then watching Terrence play with the energy he played with, and rebound the putbacks, which absolutely was needed. You talk about energy, Rich. He came in, boom. That was a shot in the arm that the team needed, and he impacted that game in a positive way, and that was awesome. It's just what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, those two putbacks, were absolutely huge. Okay, I'm going to get your expert opinion as former players, former champions for the Michigan Wolverines. Rich, what does Michigan have to do to beat this fundamentally sound, maybe not as athletic as Tennessee, but with Colin Gillespie and some others, and obviously with Jay Wright, one of the best coaches in college basketball? What are the key ingredients you think for Michigan to win this game on Thursday night over Villanova?
Rebound, defense, and hit your threes. The defense is the dictator. If we play great D like we did against Tennessee, we'll come out successful. And plus, it's a special revenge game for me, Tom, because the last time I saw those guys was 1985.
Yes, I forgot about that.
National title. So I got a whole special thing for this one.
Yeah, no, and then Nova beat Michigan in the 2008. There's a lot of payback coming down the pike right now for this game. Mark, I'm going to same question for you. Obviously turnovers. You can't have 15 like they did on Thursday, and another 15 I think they did on Saturday, and beat a team like Villanova. Where does that weigh in and other things that you've seen?
No, I think Rich hit the nail on the head. But first of all, you're right. The revenge factor is big. A dear friend of mine, Harold Presley, was on that team.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
He sent me text messages. He's calling already. Here we go. Let's do this. And so, we got to get some revenge here. But no, I think Rich is absolutely right. I do think we are a bigger basketball team. I think Hunter's going to be a handful for them on the inside. But we just have to play solid defense. Jay Wright does an unbelievable job of coaching his team. They are very disciplined. And so if we stay solid defensively for the 30 seconds, don't give up anything easy, I do think we'll come out with a Michigan victory. Offensively, obviously getting that ball inside to Hunter and then spraying it out there, making our shots. I think you'll see us come on the right side of this one.
Yeah. So, and Caleb Houston has had some of that little bit of on again, off again, like the whole team has in moving parts, and he didn't score. If you would have said Caleb Houston would not score against Tennessee and Michigan commits 15 turnovers and they're going to win, I would say you're crazy. Right. But they're finding different ways. Rich, don't you think? I mean, and that's the mark of a good team, especially one that, let's be real, this has not been a normal year for the Michigan Wolverine. I've been following this program since I was 8 years old, back in the Cassie Russell era. This is not a normal season. It's had some weird angles to it, including the mishap up in Madison, but they're finding a way, right, Rich?
We're not only finding a way, and like you said, if you had told me Caleb Houston wasn't going to score a basket and we would win, I wouldn't believe it, because I've been harping on him all year. And it shows you the fight of this team, that these guys don't have to score a lot of points. But if you play lockdown defense, you're going to win games. And that's what they're doing. And you know me, and I'm a Mark Hughes kind of guy, fan too, because, I'm big on big guys. Yeah. I love big guys. Even though I'm not a big guy, I love big guys because I am always going to believe you can't win without them. Yeah. You can't win without big guys because they're going to do all the dirty work.
Well, when I look at the roster, the 86 team that Mark was on as a freshman, you were a senior. I mean, they had Tarpe as a forward. I mean, Mark Hughes was the only center along with J.P. Oosterbaan. I mean, well, what the hell is that about? Why were you center and Tarpe's almost 7 foot and you're the center? What was that deal?
Tell you what that's about. It's about skill set, Rich, right?
There you go. That's exactly right, Mark.
Now he can push it, put it between his legs, shoot jumpers.
Yep.
Me, rebounder, defender. That's what I came in as, and that was it. But just a quick story about Rich, man. So we first came in one of my early practices. I'm not kidding you. So we're scrimmaging towards the end of it, right? And so Rich, I think Gary kicked it out to Rich on a break. This dude took one dribble, man, outside the lane and jumped off those 2 feet. And I've never seen a man explode off the floor like he did.
I hear it all the time.
And I'm telling you, it was impressive. And I felt bad for JP, who happened to be in the way. Like, he didn't jump. He could, but he was in the way. And I'm telling you, it was decent about that for the next month. I mean, my goodness, man. People, if you need to go back in YouTube, man, Rich Rellford, man. He has
I just hear it from his teammates. I hear the story, man. It's like I hear, like Carlton Valentine, who played Michigan State, says, man, that dude had bounce. Bounce. The same thing. We got a lot of followers out there, Michigan fans, Mark, and they're always wanting to know what former players are doing. What now? You were back, in Indianapolis cheering on the Wolverines along with the other alumni that I talked about. But what are you doing? Just kind of give a quick capsule of what you did after college. I know you were involved in the CBA player coach in Grand Rapids, and then you played international like Richard did, and now you're at the NBA level, been player personnel, the Knicks. Give it to us. Give us a capsule before I steal it from you.
Just to give you the thumbnail version of it. I went, played professionally, played in Italy, played in France after college. I did make the Detroit Pistons 90-91. Was a rookie on that team. We lost to the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then I played in Europe for a good stretch. Got injured, had a little knee surgery, came back, and played in the CBA is where I got my start there. In Grand Rapids, did a couple years there, then literally got right into coaching after playing, and was fortunate enough to coach for 10 years, got a lot of kids called up, and that was a really, really good experience to be involved in that with the Grand Rapids Hoops. And and then after that, I went back into, did a couple years in Orlando with Doc Rivers as an assistant coach, coach with Eric Musselman, who's now coaching Arkansas there in the Sweet 2016. So must be a friend of mine. Did a year with him in Sacramento, and then got into scouting after that. So was there, raised my family in Sac, was a West Coast scout with the Knicks for a few years, and did actually 10 years there with the Knicks, and kind of worked my way up. And then fortunately in 2017, got a call from Lawrence Frank, and he said, "Hey, I got an assistant GM job open. Why don't we talk about it?" And sure enough, had an interview there and ended up here in LA and been here since 2017. And, we are, on the verge of doing some big things here. We like our squad and just got to get some health there. And once we do that, I love what we put together. And we're just going to keep plugging away and hopefully bring a championship to the LA Clippers.
Rich, you're beaming with pride as Mark's going over his, his background there. I mean, you look like a father figure looking down, beaming down on your subordinate, your son, if you will.
That's my young fella, Tom. My young fella. Listen, Glenn, Lloyd, and Mark were my young fellas.
Yeah.
And we looked out for them, and we're proud. All of us are proud of those guys, because when you talk to Glenn Rice, he will never say anything that I didn't do for him. He'll tell you everything that I did for him.
Oh, yeah.
And we love that, man. Listen, we all had it. We all had guys. Thad Garner with me, and then we pushed it on down, and with Mark and them. Listen, man, we're a proud family, man. That's how it goes.
Yeah, well, that's the way and I think that's the way it's going to continue, especially with Juwan Howard there, and Ward Manuel's running an athletic department. They're winning in everything right now. I mean, literally every sport. It's crazy right now. But Mark, we really appreciate you coming on All Rell Good with your buddy Richard Rellford. We'll have you on again sometime soon, hopefully, if you're available. I know you're a busy guy out there on the West Coast. Great seeing you at courtside there at Gainbridge Arena. What a weekend it was, and so thanks so much for coming on with us.
It was no problem. I appreciate you having me, and I'd be remiss to say I did spend 2 years with Steve Fisher at San Diego State as a
yes,
it was awesome.
Okay.
One of the best experiences I had. So that was great to be able to do that with Fish and Dutch and those guys. So I got a special place in my heart for San Diego State and those guys and what they're doing. So
okay.
Well, Mark, I appreciate you, man. I thank you so much for coming on, Mark. Really.
All right. That's All Rell Good in the Crawford Podcasting Network. Again, thanks to Mark Hughes, and for all of us, go Blue, right?
Go Blue, baby.
Blue.